Kennedy.
Do you want a man for president who's seasoned through and through, but not so doggone seasoned that he won't try something new? A man who's old enough to know
And young enough to do.
well, it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you.
But it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy for me.
Kennedy,
Kennedy,
Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Do you want a man with spirit who is not afraid to fight?
A man whose record shows that he will fight for what is right.
A loyal man who'll bring the job a fresh new point of view? Well, it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you.
Cause it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy for me.
Kennedy,
Kennedy,
Kennedy.
Kennedy.
And do you deny to any man the right he's guaranteed to be elected president, no matter what his creed?
It's promised in the Bill of Rights to which we must be true.
So it's up to you, it's up to you. It's strictly up to you.
And it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy for me.
Kennedy,
Kennedy,
Kennedy.
Kennedy.
Do you like a man who answers straight, a man who's always fair?
We'll measure him against the others, and when you compare, you cast your vote for Kennedy and a change that's overdue. So it's up to you, it's up to you, it's strictly up to you.
Yes, it's Kennedy, 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 Kennedy for me.
Kennedy, 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 Kennedy,
Welcome, welcome, welcome from my humble second bedroom here in the Saucon Valley, part of the Lehigh Valley, in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, part of these United States, North American continent, Western Hemisphere, on this planet Earth. Only one we have. Third rock from the sun in the Terran solar system. This is the Kennedy effect. TKE tonight. Oh, Terran solar system. What did I forget? Oh, Milky Way galaxy. We love the Milky Way galaxy. It's our home. This is TKE tonight. The Kennedy effect tonight for the 13th of March. 2025, and if you are thinking to yourself, wow, he was just still getting his you-know-what together, you are correct. That is correct. We're having sharing problems again, as per usual, it would seem. And yeah, fighting through it, trying to get through it here, trying to get the show to all the places that it's supposed to be. You are listening to TKE tonight for the 13th of February 2025. We are live right now on the Facebook pages of, or are we? We should be. I think I may have forgotten that part because I've been fighting with, everything. There's a lot of things to complain about with Facebook. A lot. And if I did not mention a lot, one of which is that bloody hell do they make things difficult. I mean properly flippin' difficult. And this is one of those nights. They are making life just properly flipping difficult, and it's just making me mental. I think I may have told a lot of you before that our original plan for this program was to have George here live. He's supposed to sit right over there actually and help me, and actually, and I almost said play producer. That's not at all what I meant. That would have been a really crappy way to say that. but be the real actual producer of the program and sit right next to me, and just be here. And he would be able to do these things quicker, certainly, than I. And it just hasn't gone well. That never happened because of the pandemic and a lot of other things. Oh God, I can't spell. We're on the air. We are live. Zoom is open. Okay, that's it. And it just didn't work because of the pandemic. And then he was searching for work. I was searching for work. He's been sick on and off. I've been sick on and off. His wife is sick a lot. She has a lot of health problems. Kristen moved in. We got married. Like, it just didn't work. And boy, tonight is just one of those nights where I just wish he was right there like we had planned. And we'd be doing what we're supposed to be doing with you. I never say for you, because it makes it sound like it's some kind of like I'm somehow doing you a favor, which is just not the case. You're doing me a favor by being here with me while I ramble on and spew. Have these streams of consciousness. It's you doing me the favor by giving me the how should I say, the pleasure of your time, the you sharing your time with me, I guess, the courtesy of you sharing your time with me. We are live right now on the Facebook pages of Ghost Claw Productions, Hot101.net, Our Revolution, Pennsylvania, the TCP Media Group, and our home group Facebook page for all things that surround the program, that other side of information. It's also the name of our YouTube channel. We are live there right now, and we are live on the Facebook, or not the Facebook, blah, blah, blah. Can you tell I'm sick? We are live on the YouTube channel of Ghost Claw Productions Radio. The audio of the program, of course, flies around the globe via two global internet giants, one of the very first, Hot101.net. Our name is our web address. If you can plug into the internet, you can listen to us, Hot101.net. Apple App Store, Google Play Store, and the TuneIn radio app. If you have any other type of device, you can listen right through the website too, but you don't need to. Again, Apple App Store, Google Play, and the TuneIn radio app. Of course, you can tell Alexa to play Hot101.net as well. Ghost Claw Productions Radio, GCPR.live is the website. You can listen there absolutely for free and learn everything you could possibly want to know about our humble global internet radio station, GCPR.live, where every voice matters. And we want your voice to be part of our voice. We welcome, we invite your comments, questions, especially questions. I get very, very few questions on this program. Honestly, I get very few. It seems to me like when some of these other fancy pundits do public appearances or town halls, or they're just loaded with questions. I get precious few questions on this program. Maybe because you're all so damn smart and so much smarter than I, that you don't have any questions for me. And I guess that's okay. But anyway, we welcome your comments, questions, your contributions to the program. I never intended for this program to be a lecture, and it need not be that. I hope you will put your comments, questions in the chat and be a part of the program. Quick hello to Randall is here, Donna is here, John Quia is here. John Quia, I'm going to drop a fact on John Quia right now. I am not a Jeffrey. I am Jeff, period. It's on my birth certificate. I am not a Jeffrey. I am used to being called Jeffrey. I usually don't make a thing of it anymore. But I just thought it was an interesting little fact to throw out there that I am not a Jeffrey. I'm just a plain old, simple, one-syllable Jeff. Very simple. Jeffrey sounds quite regal, doesn't it? Almost sounds quite, I don't know, royal's the right word, but it sounds a bit regal, doesn't it? I'm just an old Jeff. Just a plain old Jeff. Anyway, we will take you right to 9 o'clock. Following us on hot101.net, the music returns. On gcpr.live, Superplex Party, I am at least kind of sort of sure, is on after us, is Superplex on tonight after me at 9 p.m. question mark. Superplex Party scheduled to be on with you from 9 here on gcpr.live. For us here at TKE, we shall see you on Sunday. That's the plan. Oh, yeah, Jessica tells me yes, it is. Awesome. Because I texted the other boss. I texted Thomas. He hasn't answered me yet. Welcome, Jessica. Thank you for being here. We will. Oh, Gilbert said yes. Okay. Jessica, Gilbert has confirmed your very, very accurate information. Thank you. Anyway, where the hell was I? We're scheduled to be back with you on Sunday from 6 p.m. Next Tuesday, next Thursday, and then Sunday the 23rd. Very big program for you on Sunday the 23rd, and then we will be away for a while. I will explain all of it on Sunday the 23rd and not before. I will explain all of it there on Sunday. I've been hinting at it. I don't think it takes a rocket scientist to figure it out, but we'll get into the dirty details, so to speak, on Sunday the 23rd. Big program on Sunday the 23rd. Randall quickly in the chat says, my question is, why don't people know the history of the Republican Great Depression, stock market crash in 1929, and that tariff and trade wars were a major cause of it? Because public education has been decimated in this country. It has been undervalued. It has been dramatically underfunded. We have not, I think, this is something that I think most folks on the left don't talk enough about. I don't think we have grown education in this country. Now, those on the right will love to tell you, which is part of the hypocrisy and the lying sort of hypocrisy that comes from the right when it comes to education. People from all over the world come here for our education. Yeah, the universities. We have outstanding universities in this country. Truly outstanding universities in this country. And people from all over the globe do come here. Rich people from all over the globe come here because they can afford it. But there's equally outstanding universities in the United Kingdom and throughout Europe and in Asia. But we have American education has not grown. And I don't mean grown simply by the number of students it takes care of. We have failed to learn how to provide a better education. And this is not going to be a terribly popular point of view. We have not grown. We have not developed to the extent that they should be developed. The understanding and then to implement into practice wide scale. Like the way public education is done in Europe. They go to school almost all year round. They take more frequent and longer breaks, but go almost all year round. They start later in the morning and go later into the afternoon. They have specialized schools for trades. They have specialized schools for developed on the way people learn. I happen to be a visual learner. I have a very difficult time reading. I tend to jump all over the page. I can't stay focused. I suspect if we had such diagnoses in the 70s when I was an elementary student, I would have probably gotten some kind of diagnosis, but then again, I probably would have been drugged too, which I don't think that would have been a very good thing to do either. But that said, I probably would have gotten some type of diagnosis. But I happen to be a visual learner. I learn from listening to the radio. I learn from watching documentaries and movies. I'm not so much of a podcast guy, ironically. I tend to not... I mean, even though documentaries are recorded, if they're out for too long, like if we get... the History Channel just did a very good one on Thomas Jefferson. I saw, I think, the first 2 hours of it. I believe I only have another 2 or 3 to go, but I don't have the History Channel app, so I don't know if I can, unless they show it again. But if it's out for too long, like if it takes me another year to get to it, I might not, because I'll think somehow that it's old, which just doesn't make any sense. I grew up with live TV. If you wanted to watch TV, if you wanted to watch, I don't know, what did I watch when I was a kid that I liked? Well, you know what? Even into the 90s, if you wanted to watch Friends, you better be in front of the TV at 8 o'clock on a Thursday, right? And I tend to think if you missed it, you missed it. There are series all over streaming that people will tell me, oh, you should watch all this. They're in their 7th season, but you can watch, you can binge it and catch up. I'm not that kind of guy. That said, I'm going off on a tangent, but shocker, he's going off on a tangent. We have not developed education in this country to cater to students. Read book, write on chalkboard, do homework. Kids learn in such a variety of different ways. Some are visual learners, some are book learners, some are tactile learners. A child might be terribly interested in horticulture, but we don't take the child outside to be in the woods and to be in nature and to learn that way. It's not the American system. And it will lead me into one of my topics, which I'm going to get into, but I say a lot on this program. We could learn, we as a nation, we collective, could learn so much from Europe. So very much. Education, I think, is one of them. Generally speaking, throughout Western Europe, students usually start at, their school day starts, I think, usually at either 8 or somewhere at 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning. And then they go till 4, 5, 6 in the afternoon. It actually works out better for parents as well. It makes it easier for them to work. They might get off of school for a month at the Christmas holidays, but their summers are shorter. They're only 6 weeks. They may go to the end of June and start up again mid-August, instead of here in the States where we're off for sometimes more than 3 full months at a time. At Easter in Europe, they may be off for 2 weeks, maybe even 3. Here it's Good Friday, Saturday, Easter Sunday, maybe Easter Monday, and then you're right back at it. But dear God, thank God, we do have off, the public schools in Pennsylvania do have off for the first day of hunting season. Thank God, because gee whiz. But anyway, so Randall's question is an accurate question, but it's so multi-layered. We have not just starved public education in this country because rich people hate taxes, and because there is a thriving, sadly, for-profit private education system. We have destroyed education by simply not developing it, by not morphing it into different things, by staying on a straight line rather than allowing that line to curve and branch and change. There are many, and that's, by the way, and that's not an attack on teachers. It's not an attack on administrators. We do what we do because that's what we always did. But that doesn't mean it always works. Students are different. Some can learn very well with electronics. Others need a good old-fashioned book. Some students will write an essay on. Maybe they're not great writers, but they might be able to draw you an essay. And I think you know what I mean by that. I may not be explaining it perfectly, but I think you understand what I'm saying. We haven't just short-shrifted education in this country with money. We've had a real lack of imagination about it. And it's a shame. It's also quite deliberate. Charter schools that are kind of taking on European models are also for profit. Does it mean that the students don't benefit? Does it mean that they don't get an excellent education? Well, generally speaking, across the country, charter schools profoundly underperform compared to public schools. That said, there are excellent charter schools throughout the country. Some do really, really well. Some charter schools are in some of the poorest and most underappreciated and not developed either, ignored neighborhoods throughout the country. And they give those kids a real shot. But the overwhelming amount of the charter industry is private and for profit. They pick and choose students, they never take anyone with a disability, etc., etc., etc. And that leads me into one of the things I want to talk about tonight. One of the headlines of the program, if you will. The destruction of the Department of Education is now underway. Fully underway. About 1,300 workers employees at the Department of Education have been summarily fired by the Trump regime. These were the people in charge of civil rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion, student equity, generally speaking, equity regarding female athletes compared to male athletes. They've all been fired. In fact, just before I came upstairs, Kristen was on a meeting for her job where the Department of Education's Civil Rights Office in Philadelphia was closed today. Doors were shut. The office is now shut. The destruction of the Department of Education is now underway. And here's the thing that even Republicans won't say out loud. Some of them are very flippin' proud of the fact that they're going to destroy public education. They're bloody proud of it. Even considering most of them, especially the ones from the South, attended public schools themselves. They're quite proud of it. But the part that they're not talking about, they're not just going to shut down the Department of Education and then take all the money that was budgeted for it and just give it to the states. They're not going to spend any of the money at all. They're shutting down the department so they can take the money and give it as tax cuts to rich people. I will be the first to tell you, and I probably should have Googled it before I got here. I don't know what the budget of the Federal Department of Education is. I honestly do not know. Someone will Google it and put it in the chat for me. This is usually what George does. He's not here. Not only is he not here, I don't even know where he is, to be honest. But let's just say for the sake of our... Well, let me see if I can do it quickly. Folks, you know I suck at Googling stuff at the same time I'm trying to do a show. Budget. No, you can't spell. DGET. Budget for the Department of Education. It came right up. Don't allow. That's Pennsylvania. I want the federal. $268 billion. The Department of Education spent $268 billion in 2024. 4%. Just 4% of the total $6.8 trillion in federal spending. So President Trump and Prime Minister Musk are willing to destroy the future of the, 70 million children in this country who make use of the public education system because they want to cut the federal budget by 4%. Keeping in mind, of course, that out of that 6.8 trillion, about 1.5 trillion of it is defense every single year. And even the Trump Republicans that have paraded themselves with, we're going to shut down the Department of Education. We're going to let the states decide how education is going to be operated. Except that the feds aren't going to give you any of the money. They're not going to take that $268 billion, divide it by 50, and send it to the states. It's $268 billion they're not going to spend anymore. At all. Well, let's just do some quick math. Actually, let's make it easy. Well, let's make it easier math, he said. These dollars, of course, are not divided equally. More money goes to states with more kids and that are bigger, and so on and so on. California probably gets more money than Iowa, as it should. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's $250 billion in the 50 states. It's $5 billion per state. Where's your state going to come up with another $5 billion? And how are they going to do that? Well, currently, in this country, throughout this country, primarily, though not exclusively, education is funded by property taxes. How much will your property taxes have to go up to supplement $5 billion? Here in Pennsylvania, Governor Shapiro's proposed budget is for about $8.33 billion on education. That's the state's contribution. If I'm reading this correctly. And it might not be. Here's the truth of why I think. There's two truths. Three? I'm thinking now. Can you see the smoke? I think there's three big truths behind the very, very intentional destruction of public education. One, we've made the joke on the program a million times. Republicans want to take us back to the 50s. Yes, they do. The 1850s. When slavery was still legal, when there was no public education, women could not vote or own property. The South was fascist, where the overwhelming number of slaves, overwhelming number of properties and plantations, all the political power and all the wealth were in the handful of probably about a dozen families. But also in the 1850s, child labor was legal. If you were from a poor family, North or South, and you were 7 years old, 8 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old, you worked to help supplement your family. You didn't go to school. You worked. If your family was wealthy enough that they could go to a local town school, and there were some public schools in the country, not the formalized comprehensive system that we have now, but there were towns that had schools. There were churches that had schools. If you could attend school, and when I say wealthy, I don't mean like super rich wealthy. I mean wealthy enough that the child did not have to work, then you could go to school. If you were not wealthy enough, that child went to work. Iowa, Arkansas have again legalized child labor, by the way, which we've also talked about on the program. So I think, so the first big truth about destroying education is that it returns this country back to the 1850s, where education becomes a commodity which you can only get it if you can afford it. Those who can't afford it now have to enter the workforce. And that will drive down labor costs because it will be a more competitive market for those seeking work compared to those offering work. Instead of 3 jobs for every person, there'll be 3 people for every job. So that's the first one. To flood the market with cheap labor and turn education back in, maybe that's 2 reasons, and turn education back to a for-profit industry. If you can buy it, you can have it. And those selling it to you will make money. Second, of course, maybe that was one of my 3. My brain is all over the place tonight, can you tell? One, of course, is to break the teachers' union, one of the strongest private sector unions. Well, I guess arguably they're public sector, but one of the strongest unions in the country are the teachers' unions. You destroy education, you destroy the unions. Don't think that isn't part of it. And of course, the obvious one that we always talk about here, rich people don't want to pay taxes. That's $268 billion that Elon Musk doesn't have to contribute toward. But then again, he already doesn't contribute toward taxes anyway, does he? I don't know where the disconnect happened with these billionaires, these so-called captains of industry, that they have become either so myopic or just so flat out stupid that if they make all of us beggars and homeless, who's buying all their products? I know this is a little dystopian and a little almost post-apocalyptic, but you know, the 600 billionaires in this country have all the money. The rest of us literally, I mean, there comes a point where money no longer becomes a commodity because only so many people have it. The rest of us don't have any. We'll start a barter economy. We'll start working outside the moneyed economy. Maybe Mr. Jones grows vegetables. I'm in a townhouse. I can't grow vegetables. But I can paint his house in exchange for food. We'll go back to a bartered economy. How does Musk sell Teslas if none of us have any money? The short-sightedness of it is staggering. It's absolutely staggering. And as we mentioned on Tuesday, once you shut off the pipeline of students from public schools, what do the universities do? Where do they go? Who funds the universities with their tuitions? We're not just talking anymore about, the party of business, the Republicans making it, a bit easier for the rich. We're talking about social engineering here. We're talking about, if you've never ever seen the movie Elysium, you really should, where the 99% of us are left here on Earth, post-climate change, to eke out an existence in tin shacks in deserts, while the wealthy live on a space station. We're talking about social engineering here. We're talking about 70 million kids in this country that will have no education whatsoever. Because there's going to be precious few municipalities across this country or states that can continue a full-throated, full-level public education system when the federal money is taken away. You also might think to yourself, well, if we're not spending that money at the federal level, my taxes will go down, and then the state will make up the difference, and kind of my tax level will stay the same. You're not getting a tax cut, people. You're not. You're getting a token one. The poorest 20% of people in the country are going to see an $80 tax cut. The middle 40%, $800 a year. That doesn't equal $268 billion, folks. They're not even going to throw you a bone. They're going to throw you a petal. They're going to throw you the petal off a daisy. And then watch us all fight over it. It is really dystopian when you think about it. It's very post-apocalyptic. I wouldn't say it's exactly Mad Max. It's Elysium. It really is Elysium. You need to watch that movie. It could have been much better if it had stayed more political, but then there's a love story in there, and it gets a little off the rails. But the concept of it is really outstanding. But the destruction of the Department of Education is underway. It has begun. And you need to know about it. And you need to fight against it. Over my left shoulder, there are two phone numbers. The phone number for the program, and underneath that, the phone number for the Congressional Switchboard, 202-224-3121. Even if you don't know who your member of the House of Representatives is, you can call that number, 202-224-3121. An operator will answer and ask you for your zip code. And then they will direct you to your member of the House or one of your two senators. And that has to... Randall watched Elysium. Yeah, so he knows exactly what I'm talking about. Make those phone calls. Keep making those phone calls. The entire House of Representatives is up for re-election already in less than 2 years. Let me see. December, January, February. In 24 months. In 20 months. 20 months. The entire house is election day for the House of Representatives. The entire House. 1/3 of the Senate is up for re-election in 20 months. It's our last chance. If Republicans maintain a majority in Congress, in both chambers, even if it's a 1-vote majority, then the restoration of democracy will have become impossible, and democracy in this country will be forever relegated to the dustbin of history. You have a chance in these 2025 elections, and you might not think they're important. School board elections have never been more important. What does your school board do when there's no federal Department of Education and no federal spending on education? Your school board elections have never been more important. And we can send a message in these elections that we care about education. We will fight for education. We will stand up for our kids. Kristen and I do not have any children. But you can be damn sure, if invited, I will rally with parents across the Lehigh Valley to defend education for their children. Pennsylvania state constitution actually mandates that the state provide education. Now, it also mandates clean air and water, which we violate on a daily basis. If the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania cannot afford to keep the schools open, they won't. It doesn't matter what the Constitution says. They'll violate it. Because we already do it on a regular basis. Watch this space. This isn't done yet. You are watching and listening to TKE Tonight for the 13th of March, 2025. We are live right now on the Facebook pages of Our Revolution Pennsylvania, Ghost Claw Productions, the TCP Media Group, and Hot101.net. We are... I don't think I can do... come on, you pain in my tuchus. Crikey. We have shared the program to about 100 different places. We have shared the program to about 100 different places. We almost made it through all the sharing before we got stopped. We are live, of course, on our home group Facebook page for all things surrounding this program. That is That Other Side of Information. We invite you to That Other Side of Information, our Facebook group, to become a member. If you are not already one, please come on over to our home group Facebook page and become a member. We welcome you, we invite you, we want you to come on over and be a member of our Facebook group. We are live right now on YouTube. 2 channels, thank you so much, Ghost Claw Productions Radio and That Other Side of Information. The audio of the program blasting around the globe via Hot101.net. Our name is our web address. You can also use the Apple App Store for the Apple app, Google Play Store for Android, and the TuneIn Radio app. You can also tell Alexa to play Hot101.net. GCPR.live is the website for Ghost Claw Productions Radio. You can listen there completely for free. We also have an Android app as well. An Apple app is currently under construction. Please check us out at our website. Learn everything you can about the station. Following us on Hot101.net, the music returns. Hurricane Girls. No, it's not Hurricane Girls. Sorry, it's Superplex. It's not Tuesday, it's Thursday. Superplex Party follows us on GCPR.live. The TKE Tonight and the Kennedy Effect return to you on Sunday. We are scheduled to return to you on Sunday, the 16th. There was one other story I wanted to get into, and I hope that I can find all the articles that surround it. There was an arrest that took place in New York City 2 days ago. And it is one that should scare you. Now, the points of view that the gentleman whom I'm about to read about, you may not agree with any of it. You truly may not. You might even find them angering and repulsive. And none of that is the damn point. This is from CBC, the Canadian Broadcasting Company, which is even highly ironic now. This was originally posted yesterday, but then again, we weren't with you yesterday, so I wanted to bring this up because this is highly, highly, highly significant to the future of this nation. It tells you where we are. If you didn't think that we were a fascist, easy for me to say, or not, fascist nation, I'm going to prove to you that we are. Not because I'm happy about it, but because we need to know where we are now. We need to know where we stand. I know it might sound flippant and like I'm making fun. Most 12-step recovery programs, from alcohol, drugs, gambling, whatever it might be, will tell you that the first step to solving a problem is admitting you have one. We better admit we have a problem before it's too late. Again, this is from yesterday. Headline: Arrest of Columbia student protester sends chill across campus, say faculty. It's a very dark day in the history of the Republic, says Professor and Faculty Union Rep Michael Thaddeus. The arrest and threatened deportation of a student activist at Columbia University is a threat to free speech on campus and across the United States, says Professor Michael Thaddeus. Thaddeus is one of several faculty members at the New York school speaking out on behalf of Mohammed Khalil, who was arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents for his role in campus protests against Israel's military campaign in Gaza. Khalil, a U.S. permanent resident, was arrested without charge at the university-owned apartment on Saturday in front of his pregnant wife and sent to a detention center in Louisiana. Some background. Mr. Khalil was originally put in an ICE facility in New York City. When his lawyers attempted to locate him, had located him, and attempted to see him, he was moved to Louisiana. His lawyers have still not met with him, to the best of my knowledge. I have seen no reporting to the contrary. He has not been charged with a crime. His constitutional rights were and are being completely ignored because this regime didn't like what he said. Period. Trump's own Department of Justice admitted as such. They admitted to the press. Mr. Khalil has not committed a crime, but they arrested him anyway. They are threatening him with deportation. He is a permanent U.S. resident. Think about that. You may hate everything that Mr. Khalil stands for. You may have thought that the anti-Israeli protests, and oh, by the way, they were not anti-Jewish protests. They were anti-Netanyahu and Israel. Easy for me to say. God almighty. They were anti-Netanyahu and anti-Israeli protests. We have to stop conflating. Israel is the Jewish state. The overwhelming percentage of its population is Jewish. But being Israeli and being Jewish are not necessarily the same thing. Jewish is not a nationality. It is a faith. It is a religion. Protesting against Israel is not, and Bernie Sanders, a Jewish man himself, has said this repeatedly. Protesting against Israel is not anti-Semitic. It is not anti-Jewish. It's anti-Israel. Protesting against the Trump regime is not anti-American. In fact, it might be one of the most patriotic things you can do. After all, quote, to form a more perfect union. Mr. Khalil led protests against Israel's war on Gaza and its indiscriminate killing of men, women, and children, and flattening nearly all of Gaza, cutting off medicines, bombing hospitals. You may not have liked what he said. You may not like how he said it. I happen to think the conduct of the protests at Columbia were a bit over the top. The occupation of the campus, shutting down classes, what? Oh, I don't know why the chat keeps reloading. It's really annoying. You might not like what he said, but the Constitution protects his right to say it. The Constitution says when you're arrested, you must be charged with a crime. Mr. Khalil has not been charged with a crime. Still. The law and the Constitution say you have a right to legal representation. Mr. Khalil has legal representation. His lawyers are not allowed to see their client. Mr. Khalil has not been allowed to see his lawyers. That's illegal. It's unconstitutional. Whenever Trump Republicans talk to you about the Constitution, please look them in the face. In fact, I would even tempt you to get about that far away from their faces and tell them about the effing liars that they are. And I realize that might push toward a violent confrontation. I don't want to see any of that. But whenever these red hats try to wrap themselves in the flag and the Constitution, call them out for the flipping, fracking liars that they are. I don't particularly agree with everything Mr. Khalil said, and I don't think the overall conduct of the protests was helpful or appropriate. But he has a right to say it. Courts in this country have defended the right of the Ku Klux Klan to march. But because Donald Trump doesn't like what Khalil had to say, he arrested him with no charges whatsoever and continues to deny his constitutional rights to see an attorney or to face a judge to answer for the charges against him, because there are none. This should scare you. I don't often think people should be scared. I think we should stiffen our spines and fight back. This should bother you. This should keep you awake. Randall, George, and I, Thomas, all of us here, we had a lot of kind of flippant jokes about doing the show from a prison camp. The arrest of Mr. Khalil tells you prison camps are perfectly possible right now. That's just the beginning. Because if he gets away with this, there'll be more people. You don't have to agree with what Mr. Khalil did or said, and continues to say. You don't have to agree with it. You don't. But to be arrested for thought and speech and a political position, to not be charged with a crime, to be whisked away to a completely different part of the country so your lawyers can't get to you, this should keep you awake. If it can happen to Mr. Khalil, it can happen to any of us. And make no mistake, this regime wants it to happen to us and is planning for exactly that. Today it's Mr. Khalil. Today it's legal Americans of Haitian descent. Next. Who's next? Well, we know women can't control their own bodies. Project 2025 wants to take away their right to own property, money, have a credit card, even vote. Gay marriage is on the table. Interracial marriage is on the table. DEI has been decimated. Affirmative action overturned by the Supreme Court. Trumpers have talked about rounding up all the Democrats and putting us in prison camps. Mr. Khalil is the tip of the spear. He's the exception that just might become the rule. That's about all the time we have for tonight. For everyone at Hot101.net, DJ Lex, DJ Earl, and the entire Hot101.net family, we're done for now. We'll see you again Sunday evening from 6 p.m. The music returns on Hot 101 right now. For those of you at GCPR.live, for everyone here, for Thomas, Gilbert, Gambit, Gretchen, and everyone at GCPR.live, we return to you as well on Sunday evening from 6 p.m. Superplex Party starts right now. For everyone on our video streaming services, we are scheduled to return to you on